Let's look at a situation where we have Tract E has taken over most of Tract F's land. So as I go to screen in Tract E, they are going to qualify as an Ag Tract operator. I'm going to answer the first question as a yes, and we are going to submit the tract and start the survey. As I go through here, notice that if there is an existing partner on the record, that will come in and we can make sure that that's verified, just like what we would normally see on other surveys. It asks, how many acres are we operating inside the red boundaries? We're going to say 510. Now, when you're entering the information about what is in the tract, we no longer have to break it down by what are in separate fields. We can lump it all together and treat it like it was just one field. You are going to need to pay attention to make sure that all the acres are accounted for properly and that they are going to add up. So we'll start by saying I have a 5-acre farmstead. I've got 15 acres of waste. Say I've got 75 acres of woods. I've got 30 acres of permanent pasture. I don't have, well, let's say I have 10 acres of idle cropland. We'll put that in CRP. I've got 50 acres of wheat that I've used as a cover crop that I will be double cropping with soybeans. I don't grow any oats. I have 125 acres of corn planted, and I've planted all but 20 acres at this point. Acres harvested for grain is going to be 125. Soybeans, I'll say I have 175 acres of soybeans, and I've planted all of them at this point. For hay, I'm going to say I've got 25 acres of grass hay, and I don't have any other crops. I might then be asked how many acres are going to be double cropped. I'm going to say 50 to account for those double cropped soybeans. And again, I'll say how many are going to be planted following a second harvested crop. Well, here, this is something to consider because the wheat was not actually harvested. The wheat is a cover crop. So technically, you're not harvesting the wheat, so I'm going to put a 0 here. Was section D reported or observed? This is important if we have to visually observe the field because we can't contact the operator. We do want to know this versus were these data reported by the operator. That can also be important because it's possible we'll have some operators that will give us this much and nothing else. Now let's see what we've got here. I'm going to say that the total operation is going to have 1,000 acres owned. It's going to have 1,500 acres rented, nothing rented out. That includes everything. Oops. You don't want to check no here because then it'll give you a warning that we got to fix our total, because they do want to check to see if the total acres do include the farm stand, cropland, woodland, and so on. Did we have anything on an AUM basis? We'll say no. How much was in cropland? Well, I'm going to say 2,000 acres are in cropland. Of the total acres operated, how much is in CRP? I'm just going to say those 10 acres of cropland were in CRP. Now, this particular operator is jumping up and missing some of the other crop questions because the crop stocks box was not checked. You may not see that here in the instrument, but behind the scenes, it knows that some of the crop questions do not need to be asked of this operation. So I'm going to put in that they have 280,000 bushels of storage. I'll say they have 80,000 bushels of corn on hand and 5,000 bushels of soybeans. Were any of the new stocks reported? No, we don't have anybody that should have new crop stocks at this point. Do we have any hogs or pigs? We'll say no and no intentions. Do you have any cattle or calves? Well, again, we have the cattle and calf section, which we can look at in a separate video.